Kenya's Ministry of Environment and Forestry has announced the launch of a new campaign geared at tackling environmental challenges in the capital, Nairobi. The campaign seeks to promote sustainable consumption among members of the public to reduce waste generation. It also aims to promote recycling at homes. Nairobi has witnessed ballooning of electronic waste owing to the rise of mobile phone penetration and a burgeoning middle class. Globally, the UN estimates that electronic waste reached 42 million tons in 2014. Another data by the Global E-Waste Monitor report found that a record 54 million metric tons of electronic waste was generated globally in 2019, marking a 21% jump in just 5 years. All right, so we're now joined by Honorable Mohammed Elmi, the Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Environment and Forestry in Kenya, to explore this further. Thank you very much, Honorable Elmi, for joining us tonight. So a national strategy document out in February pointed out that one of the key problems with waste management in Kenya is that collection levels are pretty low. How will this be resolved?
I think, good evening. I think the bigger problem actually has been we've been using what we call linear system of waste disposal, where when you get to waste is taken to a dump site, and what the document does is that wants to move Kenya to a more circular economy, which means first and foremost, we encourage people not to buy things they don't need, and therefore reduce consumption that is not required. But more importantly, separate the waste at home, make sure then they are taken to separation facility, and then they are recycled, and then they are resold back to the people. And therefore, we expect when it is fully functional, eventually only 5% to end up in the landfills. And therefore, the new waste management policy, and which we hope will become a law very soon, encourages that we move away from this linear approach, which I've used for many years, which has been problematic. One, in terms of the collection, as you said. Two, in terms of making sure that the landfills, once they are full, they generate gases that are also not good for the environment.
Waste management, we know, is a devolved function, but why are counties not handling waste management properly?
Actually, waste management has always been a devolved function, even when before devolution, the county councils used to deal with it. What the ministry and the National Environment Management Authority are doing is to provide the regulatory and the policy framework. And therefore, in February this year, Cabinet passed both the policy and the bill, which will go to Parliament. We are working then with the Nairobi County government and NMS to begin to implement that policy. And we hope that all other counties will be. So all counties across the country actually do collect waste, but it is inefficient. And as I said, it's a linear approach. For example, 60% of the waste of Nairobi is organic, from which we can have fertilizers made. The other part of it, plastics. Already there are now a number of companies that are recycling plastics. So quite substantial amount, and we estimate up to almost 90%, we should be able to either use, recycle, and continuously do that, and therefore create more jobs, make sure that we protect the environment.
Okay, so one of the goals of this 2021 waste management policy is to reduce methane emissions. How big a problem is this across Kenya's agricultural sector, and how will those emissions be reduced?
I think the methane reduction will happen once we stop dumping everything in a dump site, like we do in Nairobi, a place called Dandora. And that causes that. It's not a big problem out in the rural areas, but in the bigger cities where there's a big dump site, then that's a problem.
And where do waste-to-power systems fit into Kenya's efforts to better manage its waste?
Okay, we expect when this is all working well, maybe 5 to 10% of that will be used to waste to electricity. Ministry of Energy is currently working on a plan to set up the tariff for that. And they are working closely with us and also the Nairobi city. But large part of the waste, for example, the 3,000 per day tons of Nairobi, as I said, 60% is organic. There are already a number of farms that are turning that into fertilizer. And they are others who are recycling plastics, others are recycling wood and chairs and things like that. Electronic waste remains a big problem, but we have now about 6 recyclers, of which we center is one of the biggest in the region. And as I said earlier, our linear approach, which was just to collect every waste and throw them together and then taking them to a dump site, has been our problem. Once this policy and law are in place, we expect every household to separate them, and different color-coded trucks will pick, and then the recyclers, like we center, will now get the electronic waste because they have much higher capacity to recycle than they are able to get at the moment. We believe a lot of people have a lot of gadgets, their phones, their computers, their fridges, uh, which they do not take to the right recycling center.
Have there been talks within the Energy Ministry and EPRA to set a tariff for power generated from thermal plants powered by waste?
I think at the moment, currently, they are working on a plan. I'm aware that they're working on a plan. I'm not sure whether they have finalized the actual tariff for waste to energy. I know they do have tariffs for solar, they do have tariffs for geothermal and others. And I expect soon they will have one for waste to energy.
Right. In the 12 months to February this year, Kenya registered an average of 27,000 vehicles each month. So what's the government policy on their eventual recycling as they fall out of use?
Okay, at the moment we have the regulations which are going to come EPR, which is going to ensure that all those who produce products, they participate in the ensuring that they are recycled. Among those will be vehicles, one of them. About 19 products are listed for that assessment. When that happens, it means anybody who brings any products, whether it is electronic or a vehicle or others, will be expected to be part of a producer organization that will ensure that they participate in the tech back scheme. For example, at the moment, the plastic group have come together. They have formed an agency, and they are supporting those who are trying to recycle.
The 2021 Sustainable Waste Management Policy is silent on how it will handle emissions from fossil-fueled vehicles on Kenyan roads. How will this be handled over the medium term?
Actually, that policy you're talking about is largely about solid waste management. Under the MCA, which is under National Environment Management Authority, air pollution is already taken care of, and NEMA as the regulator is involved together with the national transport to try to reduce those air pollution. So it is covered within the MCA law.
And finally, as we wrap up, fixing some of these issues like expanding coverage of waste collection, that will require a significant amount of capital. How will these services be funded at a time when Kenya's tax base is deeply constrained? Should Kenyan farms and citizens expect new taxes at national or county level?
No, I think the policy across the world generally is the polluter pays. So there will be two levels. The households already, if they separate, most of them pay for the people who collect them. Now it will be using the what you call the circular economy approach will actually generate more money because most of the things that used to be dumped now will be given to recyclers that will produce. also the owners of the product, let's say the phone companies, the computer company, all this, they will be part of a tech back scheme that they will come up with. And we expect then they will also chip in into the taking back. So the principle of the polluter pays really will apply.
Honorable Mohammed Elmi, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you for joining us.